If you're looking for a podcast that packs in sound property advice, as well as offering you an insight into making the world of property effective and ultimately work for you, you're in the right place. Hosted by Arsh, the original property rebel. He's written an Amazon bestseller, created the Property Investor app, the UK's first, and is an experienced property mentor. More importantly, he talks the talk and walks the walk.
Hi and welcome to another episode of The Property Rebel with your host Arsh. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about the benefits of a master key system. So this is very much tailored towards landlords, property investors that want to make an easier life of managing their property investment portfolio. Before we do that, I want to say a quick hello to all new listeners, subscribers to the channel. Hopefully you're enjoying it and hopefully you're taking away loads of golden nuggets. And as always, this is a one-take recording, one-take session, which means that we're going to hear some ifs, ums, ahs, and maybe even some long pauses. But believe it or not, that's okay. The Property Rebel is sponsored by the Property Investor app, which is UK's first property investment platform, which showcases all kinds of deals, so below market value deals, rent-to-rent deals, and lease option deals. And if you haven't already downloaded it, please go to the App Store, type in Property Investor, and you'll see all the deals in the palm of your hand. So let's get moving on. So what exactly is a master key system? Just imagine you own a whole property portfolio, or even if you've got a couple of properties. Now, for each of those properties, each property will have a separate bunch of keys. Now, with a master key, it very much is a one key fits all. And the reason I'm not going to proclaim to say that I created this, because I didn't, but I started implementing a master key system into my portfolio back in 2006. And there was a story behind this. So I'm going to share it with you. So back in 2006, it was approximately 2 o'clock in the morning. I got a call from a withheld number, and that only means one thing. And if you're a portfolio landlord, you know exactly what that call is. At 2 o'clock in the morning, it's only going to be two people. It's either going to be a tenant that tells you that they've lost their key, or they're drunk and disorderly, or they don't know how to get into their property. Or if it's off a withheld number, it can only be one organisation. That is the law and enforcement, and the police saying, we're standing outside your property, would you mind to give us access? Now, 2 o'clock in the morning, you have two choices. You can either stay in bed and think, you know what, forget it, they can deal with it another day, or you can go and open the door, hoping that they're not going to force the door, so that it saves you some money as well. So I got a call back in 2006 from a police officer. He goes, Arsh, or he said, Mr. Ilahi, we've got an enforcement notice here to come and get Mr. Tenant, Mr. X. And we're standing outside the property at the moment. You've got two options. You can either come and open the door for us, or we can force our way through. And I very quickly, within 20 seconds, decided that I need to be there to open the door, because if I don't, it's going to cost me approximately between £200 and £300 to get that door replaced. So by the time you pay for the door, by the time you pay for the ironmongery, by the time you pay for the labour, it's quite an expensive process. And because I was only about 10 minutes away from the property, I said, can you give me 10 minutes? They said, yes. Got my bag of keys, and I went to the property, and in that property, it's that's an 8-bed HMO. And I went there, and because the doors, or back then, they weren't labelled up, so this key was for this door, I started there and went outside the door. The police officer was behind me, and I put this key in. No, it's not this key. No, it's not this key. No, it's not this key. The police heard the tenant rustling around in their room, almost like they're trying to leave the property, out the window, whatever it may be. Before I knew it, they forced me out the way. They took the door off the hinges, and I thought, well, what's the point? What was the point of me getting out of bed? Because they've taken the door off anyway. It's now cost me approximately £300. Now, unfortunately, if the police have a good reason to take that door off, if there's a person at risk, or if they have got a warrant for that person, there's nothing that you can do to reclaim the cost of that door. I've tried it multiple times. There is a system which I'm going to share with you in a second, but because they had a very good reason they had a court order and also a warrant for this person. They could legally take that door off, and there's not a great deal that I could do about it. So I started speaking to the police officer. I said, guys, okay. I said, I'm quite well known to you guys as a landlord. Unfortunately, we deal with some tenants on benefits, which unfortunately, from time to time, they have a running with the law. I said, how can we make this easier to work with you guys so that I'm not getting calls at 2 o'clock in the morning? More importantly, you're not taking my doors off. So we came to an arrangement. I started speaking to quite high up officials in the police, and I come up with a system where I'm going to replace all the locks in the properties, and there was a master key system. And with a master key system, very simply, is that it was one key controls all, which meant that when I go to a property now, I don't have to have a bunch of keys. I don't have to have a bag of keys. It is one simple key that will get me through the front door. It will get me through every tenant door. But more importantly, the tenants still have their own individual keys. So tenant in room 1 could not access in room 2. However, I can access room 1, room 2, room 7, and the front door, and anywhere else where I want to go. So we devised this system with the police. More importantly, I said to the police, I said, if I go and get this done now, will you store a copy of the key so that if there is an issue in the future, if I give you a list of every property this key represents, will you then start moving forward so that you won't call me and you won't boot the door off, because I've actually given you the master key, which means that you can walk in whenever you want. And I have no issue with that. I gave them authority to walk in any property that I own, providing that this key suits that master system. And then they can, instead of booting the door off, they literally go and take the key, and they can go there at 1 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, whenever it may be, and then they can get their person. And it worked extremely well. I had to sign some forms, I had to give them authority, had to give them a list of properties. More importantly, I had to give them a list of tenants. So every fortnight, I've got a list of people, and these are all the police officers that cover these areas. So for argument's sake, we cover pretty much 10 boroughs around the West Midlands. So that's Wolverhampton, Walsall, Sandwell, Dudley, Birmingham, Coventry, Telford, did I mention Tamworth? So there's 10 boroughs there. And out of that, I've give each of the police departments a list of all the properties and all the tenants that live there on a fortnightly basis. It takes approximately 10 minutes to do. And believe it or not, I don't actually do it anymore. I give the admin guys, the authority to do that. And there's a list of emails, and every fortnight we just forward that list onto those. So since 2006, I think we've only ever had 1 or 2 doors taken off. And that was because of negligence from the police. We also put a system in place that should they go and take a door off and they can't explain why they've taken that door off, because I've given them authority, because I've gave them the key to access it, they can't take a door off. And if they do, they have to pay for that door and the damage and associated damage. Because why do they need to take the door off if they've got the key? It's unexplainable. There's one scenario where a tenant says that they were going to cause self-harm, and the police officers were literally within a minute of the property, as opposed to them going back to base, getting the key out of the key store and back to the property. They took the door off, but then they paid for that. So they justified that to themselves. They justified that to me. They had the door replaced the next day, and it works extremely well. So it's almost creating a relationship with the police. And what really works well for me, I use this as a scaremongery tactic. And I say scaremongery tactic in the best possible way. I use this as a scaremongery tactic when I interview tenants, or when we now screen our tenants, especially if they're on benefits or, etc. When they're coming to us and say, we want the room. I say, just out of curiosity, guys, have you got a police record? Can I say yes or no? And because I've got a good relationship with the police now, I can literally run a person's name, email address, and national insurance number through to police officers. Say, guys, without disclosing anything, can you tell me how good or how bad is this guy known to you? If they say yes, that's where I'll go back to the tenant and say, guys, okay, what do you need to disclose to us from the outset? We're aware that you're familiar with the police, for what reason, when, and what charges, and then we make that decision whether we want to take that property or not. More or whether we want to take that tenant or not. More importantly, because the police now know that this person's in the area and this is where they live, it allows them to tighten up any security if required. So it works really well. It's protecting the other tenants around us, it's protected my properties, and it's also helping the police. So more importantly, from a tactic point of view, when I say to the tenant, so guys, just so you know, the tenant has a master key, the police have a master key to this whole building. So if you're up to no good and they're after you, they won't need to knock on your door. They've got my authority to walk in as and when they require. If they take the door off, they'll replace it. I'm not too worried about that. We've not had any issues with that. And it works really well. Now, I've only told you the worst case scenario. There are lots of benefits of having the master key. So instead of me now carrying a bunch of keys and jingling around, I only have the one master key. That master key takes me through pretty much 1,100 rooms or 1,100 places to ensure that wherever I've got, I only ever need that one key. You've got to make sure you don't lose that key. You've got to make sure that there is not a massive circulation of that key. So with my master key, there's 3 people that have it, 4 if you include the police. So there's me, there's my business partner, who's also my brother. We've got a head of maintenance guy. So the maintenance guy is a master key. So if there's ever an issue, let's say there's a water leak, instead of having come to the office and we have to try and find the keys, etc., we literally, he says, okay, we send a message, number 123 ABC Street, flat 4, there's a water leak, go and deal with it. He's got the master key, he can be in that room within 10 minutes. And it works extremely well. Now, you've got to remember, back in 2006, there weren't the key safes and there weren't the little digital locks that we have today. So it probably has progressed along the way. But I've found with digital locks and stuff that they can be, because there's a lot of technology, they can fail. Whereas with the key, it doesn't really fail. You've got a key that gets you through the front door. That same key gets you into the flat door. With the police, can you imagine me giving the police a load of codes? Would they ever remember that? No, they wouldn't. With the key, it's very simply a case of you go to a property, you take the key, you're definitely getting access. It's not a case of, has a code been changed, or, how do you get access? How do you work this code? No, you stick the key in the door, you turn it to the right, within a second, you're in the property. So we've kept it very straightforward and it's served us really well. It's served us extremely well. There's a variation of master keys if you want the master key. So you can have a variation. So just so that you know, it's not expensive to set up. It's expensive when I say it's expensive, it's a little expensive to set up this system so that you've got a master key which suits a number of locks. But then once I need the barrels, so that master key can do a cylinder barrel, it can do a Euro barrel, a thumbnail barrel, double glazed lock, whatever I want. So there's a company in Scotland called Keyprint. Don't mind sharing that with you. They're really, really good. And what I tend to do, I say to them, here's the kind of lock, here's the kind of barrel I've got. Here's my master key number. So every master key, your master key will have a specific unique reference that goes back to you. And if I call up this company in Scotland, Keyprint, and say, guys, here's my master key number. Here's the kind of barrel I want. Can you make me a lock for it? And every time we do that. And it's very straightforward, very easy and very straightforward. Remember, each lock has its own individual key according to the tenant. But my key, which is the master key, is the only one that gets around everywhere. So no more carrying big bunches of keys, no more trying to figure out which key goes into which door. It's the one key that literally takes us in to that property and any property that I want to get into. It's great for maintenance guys, it's great for the police, it's great for us. And it makes it easier, especially for viewings. I don't have to worry about carrying this bunch of keys around with me. So if you're a property investor now, have a look at how many keys have you got, how many keys, and just ask yourself, how long has it taken you? You've got to tag them up, etc., etc. No need for any of that. Literally a case of one key takes you everywhere. So there you have it, guys. Bit of a tip. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the story behind it, and hopefully you go on to implement it, because if you want to make your life easier, these are the things that you need to do to make it easy for you, so that you're not on hand and call every step of the way. There are ways that you can do it. You can put little key safe boxes outside, and you can put the individual keys in those little key safe boxes. I still think there's security risk personally, but I know that people do it quite effectively. So it's all down to personal preference, really. So guys, on that note, hopefully you've enjoyed the session. Hopefully you've taken away something from it. As always, if you want more for information, I've got a YouTube channel which is packed to the brim with free information. We release a new video every Thursday at 4 p.m. All you got to do is go over to my YouTube channel. It's called Arsh Ilahi. And off the back of that, you'll see all the videos completely free to do that. As always, you can connect with me on social media. So you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram under Arsh Ilahi. And finally, as always, download the Property Investor app. If you're looking for your next deal, this is the perfect place for you to find it. We've got below market value deals, we've got rent to rent deals, we've got service accommodation deals, we've got lease option deals, just to name a few. If you want, you can go to a website, traditional website, which is www.propertyinvestораpp.co.uk, or you can download the app, the smartphone version, in your app store. So whether you're an iOS user or an Android user, go to the app store, type in Property Investor. It takes 2 minutes to register, and you'll see all the deals within the palm of your hand. So hopefully that's of use to you. And as always, I'll be releasing more podcasts every Tuesday at 6 a.m. And I'll look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Take care and bye-bye.
The large majority of people make a positive change if they take immediate action. So act now. Download the Property Investor app and join Arsh on his social media channels to excel your property journey.